Hello everyone. Let's create a bouncing heart animation with Python. So, the goal of today is to create this beating heart animation with Python and Pygame. And if anyone is interested by the code, it's actually here on Pastebin, and I will share the link in the description. Otherwise, let's start coding. The first thing we are going to do is to import the packages. So we're gonna import Pygame and we're gonna import the math package. Now, Pygame, it doesn't come with Python. So for anyone that doesn't or didn't install it already, you install it via pip install Pygame. And for the math package, it does come with Python, so no need to install it. Now, let's define some constants to work with. And let's define the width and the height of the screen. The width will be 800 pixels and the height will be 600 pixels. Let's define also some colors to work with. So the red color for the heart and the black color for the background of the screen. The red is an RGB color and the black as well is an RGB color. So RGB stands for red, green, blue. So for red, for example, it will only have 255 on the red channel and 0 on green and 0 on blue. For black, the RGB of black is 3 zeros. Let's also initialize our animation. So we do that via pygame.init and we create a screen via this command. So screen equal pygame display.set mode. We set the mode and we give the first parameter to be a tuple containing the width and the height of the screen. We do the same thing now to create a caption or a title of the animation via pygame.display.set caption, and the title will be bouncing heart animation. Now we will create a clock object which is pygame.time.clock. This will be used later on to fix the FPS, the frames per second for the animation. Let's actually define another constant which is FPS to be 60 frames per second. Now let's create our while loop, or this is the main loop. So we define a variable equal running and it is initially to true. So when running is false, the animation will be finished and we will exit the animation. Let's also define a variable called time as we will use it later. And this is basically the time of the animation and it starts at 0. So while running, this is a while loop. So basically now it's while true, and while true, we will keep executing the animation. Once it's false, we'll exit. And for this, it's only false when we want to close the animation. And we do that via this event loop. So we'll find this in practically every Pygame code. Let's check if you have an event type of pygame.quit, and if that's the case, you specify running to be false. And the next time you are within the loop, it will be while false and will exit. This is basically in order to be able to use that red button to quit the animation. And before that, let's fill each time the screen with black, which is the black color or the black constant that we fixed earlier. It's here. So each time we fill the screen with black, and then we check if there is an event of quitting. If it's the case, we quit. Finally, here we update the screen via pygame.display.flip, and this is a command that does update the screen each time to include all of the updates that we've added to the screen. And we specify the frame rate to be 60 frames per second. And this is via clock.tick. And we specify our variable FPS, which contains 60 frames per second. Finally, we quit using pygame.quit. Once we are outside of the while loop, we do quit. So all what's left is to draw the heart. And we'll draw the heart using this heart equation found on this link, which you can also find in the caption. And it specifies the x and y equation for the heart here. And that's what we will code. So define a function, define draw heart. And what does it take? It takes first the surface, which is the screen on which we are to draw the heart. So in this case, it will be our screen that we defined here. It also takes the initial position or the current position of the cursor within the screen, which is X, and the current position of Y within the screen, which is Y, and the size of the heart. So here we are going to draw a set of points instead of a continuous equation. Let's, for example, draw 360 points. So x here, actually, if this is 0, x is between minus pi and plus pi. 1 pi equal 180 degrees. So we will loop from 0 to 360 degrees, from 0 to 2 pi. So we'll define a list which is empty, and it will contain the points for our heart, and we write a simple for loop. So for t in range 1 or 0 to 360 with the step of 1. Now this is simple for loop. T first will be equal to 0, then 1, then until it reaches 359 actually. 360 is not included here. So what we are going to do first to convert the angle here from degrees, now it's in degrees, to radians. So we use math.radians to do that. Then we'll specify our x heart to be this equation. So to be 16 multiplied by math.sine t to the power of 3. And the y heart to be also this equation. Now, first things first, we'll amplify the x and y position with the size. So if it's 2, it will be amplified by 2. If it's 3, it will be multiplied by 3 and vice versa. So this is size multiplied by all of this. And this is size multiplied by everything that's here. One more thing that we need to do, and it's kind of bizarre, is that simply in our animation, you see this x here is 0, here is the maximum width, but for y it's actually inversed. So here we have 0 and here we have the maximum width. So in a way, we need to add a -1 in order to be able to draw or to draw correctly the heart. Otherwise, it will be reversed or it will be flipped. So we add a little -1 here. Then we're gonna append this x and y position to the points. So we write points dot append, and each time we append with a simple tuple that will have the x and y position. So we'll draw this point to x plus x heart and y plus y heart. Now here the heart is centered at 0 for this equation, so x and y were 0, but in this case we want to draw the heart at another position, so it will be centered around this x and this y, if that makes sense. Finally, we draw our polygon once we are outside the loop via pygame.draw.polygon, and this takes first the surface on which we're gonna draw our polygon, then the color, here it's red, and it will take the points. So if we were to call our function draw heart here, and we need to specify the parameters. So obviously the first one is the surface, which is the screen. And the heart will be centered at a given x and y position. Let's specify x and y to be the screen width divided by 2 and the height divided by 2. So basically, we're gonna draw the heart at the center of the screen, x and y. And let's specify first a fixed size, for example, a size of 10. The problem here is that we need to specify the angle here. So we have our heart. Sorry about that. But the problem is the heart is not bouncing. That's simply because we specified a width to be constant, and we shouldn't do that. So let's fix that. So the size here is instead a variable that vary. Let's, for example, say that the size will vary in function of time. For example, it will be the sine of the time. So math.sine time. And time is the variable we've specified here. And let's say, for example, 5 multiplied by math.sine of time. So it will be a sine function in function of time that the maximum is 5 and the minimum is minus 5. But the size can't be negative. So let's add the constant of 10 here. So it will vary from 15 to 5. And each time within the while loop, we add a simple constant to the time. So for example, time equal time plus 0.1. And we have the heart that does vary.